This is the Louis T. Network.
In the L.A.B room.
Exclusive.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me for this In the Lab Room exclusive divisional breakdown. Welcome to the NFC West, aka welcome to the jungle, aka welcome to hell. This is the best division in all of football. Hands down, no arguments, no debating. This division from top to bottom is tough. Top heavy, the middle just as tough, the bottom will give you a run for your money any day of the week. So let's break this division on down, shall we? The NFC West, my. So what do we have here? We've got the best team arguably in the National Football League in the Seattle Seahawks. By far the best team in the NFC Conference. They're sporting an 11-1 record, the first team in the NFL in 2013 to clinch a playoff berth. Divisional record, I've talked about this several times with other divisions and other teams. You want to be dominant, the easiest way to being a dominant football team. Dominate, it starts in the division. A third of your games, a little over a third of your games is going to be played inside the division. So you've got to be able to take advantage of divisional games. Simply put, you got to win inside the division if you want to be a good football team. And the Seahawks seem to have that remedy and recipe pretty much down pat, 3-0. Now, what 3-0 says is that you still have a lot of work to do within this division. Haven't played a lot of divisional teams, only played 3 games. So you got 3 left in your last 4 games. Got to take care of business if you want to win this division. Now, you've essentially got this thing sewn up like a tailor. If you want to emphatically put an exclamation point on your dominance in this division, win against San Francisco on the road in Week 14. Now, by virtue of that divisional record, if you lose that game, you're probably fine. No, not probably. You are fine because of all the work that you've done and the foundation that you've already laid for this season. You got 2 home games versus the rest of the division after San Francisco. You haven't lost at home in a year and a half and some change. What's to make me think that that's going to change at the end of this season? So this is about pride. This is about you wanting to beat a team in your division that you don't like, that wants to beat you very badly. This is about you trying to make a statement to San Francisco that, look, I don't like you, and I smacked you in the mouth earlier in the season at home, and I'm willing to come and do it again in your own place. I'm ready to be disrespectful. So we'll see if Seattle's up for that challenge, up for that task, but they're one of 6 teams in the league with a flawless divisional mark. And that's going to suit them well in trying to wrap this division up. So let's look at their remaining slate. At San Francisco, just talked about that game in Week 14. Big matchup, more so for the 49ers than for the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks want to win this game bad, just like the 49ers do. But the 49ers, the difference is the 49ers need this game. The Seahawks want this game. And I think that difference right there is going to be the difference in the outcome of this game. I think the 49ers are going to get them in this game. But Giants on the road for that game in Week 15. Week 16, Arizona, home. Week 17, round out your season, home for St. Louis. Honestly, I think by Week 17, you would have already wrapped up this division. The question is anybody breathing down your neck for the conference crown? With an 11-1 mark and the 2 closest teams to you in this conference being Carolina and New Orleans, teams that you both have wins over, you've got a huge cushion. I can't see them closing the gap enough for Week 17 to matter. I could easily see Pete Carroll deciding to rest a couple of starters, have this game not mean as much. You always want to be wary of doing that, though, especially when you're going to get a first-round bye. Essentially, you're telling your players, you've got 2 whole weeks off, and in another week of preparation, you haven't played football, meaningful football, in 3 weeks. That's pretty tough. So you always want to be careful with that when you're a team that's as good as Seattle, but I could see week 17 not mattering. Let's just assume that week 17 doesn't matter. I don't see you beating San Francisco in San Francisco. I don't see it happening. You're going to beat the Giants in New York. You're going to beat Arizona at home in week 16. Week 17, St. Louis at your place. Even with backups, you still probably can get that game. But I'm going to give St. Louis the benefit of the doubt here and say that they win that football game if you guys don't have starters in the game. So that's how I see that unfolding. I see you finishing up the season 2-2. Now, if you want to play all of your starters and you go out to win each and every single game, I see you going 3-1 down the stretch. I just don't see you beating San Francisco. So I look at your record and I see a 14-2 football team, or I see a 13-3, both of which will be good enough for you to not only win this division, but be the #1 overall seed in the NFC conference. So that's what it's all about if you're Seattle. For the San Francisco 49ers, totally different story. Okay? This season has not played out the way that they envisioned. However, at 8-4 right now, they are the #6 seed in the NFC playoffs. Nothing is a guarantee. Nothing is a lock. They don't have anything, squared away. All they can do is win games to ensure that they make it to the postseason. And for the 49ers, that's all you really want. You just want to get in. Because like I've talked about with Carolina, if there's another team in this conference that's equipped with the tools necessary to win on the road, if they get in as a 6 seed or as a 5 seed, does the San Francisco 49ers? They could care less. They just want to get in the tournament. They just want a ticket to the dance, a seat at the table, so when they shut the doors and they tell everybody else to go home, they'll be inside the dance. And they can pack a run game. They can pack a defense. They can go on the road and win. They can play with the best of them. So they don't mind going to Dallas and smacking the Cowboys around and winning. They don't mind going to Detroit or Chicago or whoever wins that division. They don't mind going to their house, slapping them around a couple of times and walking out with the W. So San Francisco would love to win this division, but it's not going to happen. So the next best thing is, hey, let me just get into the tournament. Let me make sure that I have my ticket in hand, so when they start taking tickets, I can hand it to the ticket taker and get inside the doors before they shut it. That's all the 49ers want to do at this point, is get into the dance so that when they start, they're in there and they got a shot. All bets are off once we get into the postseason. So 3-1 within this division. Great mark if you're the 49ers, that one and only loss, of course, coming from Seattle. So you've taken care of the bottom feeders in this division, and you've made sure that you won the games that you were supposed to win. That's how you stay clean. That's why you're 8-4. That's why you're currently in the 6th seed in this conference, because you took care of business within the division. Let's look at the remaining games. Home for Seattle, week 14. At Tampa Bay, week 15. Home for Atlanta, week 16. Back on the road to wrap up your season at Arizona. Now look, of all the teams in this division, and I'm just looking at all the records and all the teams that are remaining on the slate, St. Louis has the toughest schedule remaining. And I think San Francisco isn't that far behind. And here's why. Seattle, we already know that's going to be a heavyweight fight right there. I don't need to really go into that, but I think you're going to do enough to win that football game. That'll get you to 9-4. Again, remember, nothing is etched in stone in the NFC. A loss here, a loss there for San Francisco, they could be on the outside looking in of this playoff race, because the NFC East has 2 7-5 teams. You have a 7-5 team in Arizona right behind you in your own division. So you got to win football games just to get in. You don't have any margin for error. So Seattle is a must win for you. Seattle wants to win this game. You need to win this game. I see you doing that. At Tampa Bay, I see you taking care of business there as well. Home for Atlanta, I see you taking care of the Falcons at home. At Arizona, that's a toughie. To me, after the Seattle game, that's the next toughest matchup you got. Because I don't know what that game is going to mean for Arizona. I know what it's going to mean for you. You got to win all your games. You can't afford to lose any games just because of what you have to worry about behind you. So from that standpoint, you got to win. I know what this game is going to mean for you. I don't know what that game is going to mean for Arizona. Of course, they're still going to want to win. They're going to want to beat you. They're going to want to play spoilers if they can't go. You know, if they look up at you guys and say, Seattle, San Francisco, can I go to the playoffs with you? Please, please, please. And you say, no, stay home. Please, I want to go. Please let me go. No. If Seattle and you tell Arizona they can't come to the dance, they're going to get mad. They're going to be vindictive. They're going to want to stop you from being able to go to the show and the dance as well. So you know that they're going to try to play that little brother role. If you don't take your brother, you can't go anywhere. If he can't go, you can't go. They're going to try to play that little brother role. It's your job to make sure that they're not successful. And so, even though I think that's going to be a tough game, one that Arizona could definitely win, I think you need it more than they do, and you'll win that football game. And so, when it's all said and done, I see you going to the postseason. You've worked too hard. You feel like you're a team of destiny. You feel like you've put in the work the last 2 years, losing in the NFC Championship game and losing in the Super Bowl. You feel like it's your turn. It's your time. So I expect you to really do some damage down the stretch. I can see you cleaning the plate here. I can see you cleaning up the plate, licking the plate, making sure it's clean, getting to 12-4. However, I could easily see you losing one of these games. I could also see you losing 2 of these games. 10-6, I think, still gets you in the postseason as an NFC participant, as the 6th seed. I think 10-6 is still good enough if you drop 2 of your remaining 4 games. If you lose 2, the 2 that you would lose would be Seattle and Arizona, the 2 bookend games, week 14, week 17. If you only lose 1, then it would be, of course, Seattle or Arizona. But I can see you winning all 4 of these games. But just to be on the safe side, just to cover my butt, I'll say you go 3-1 down the stretch, finish up at 11-5, and that's going to be good enough to get you in the playoffs as the number 6 seed in the NFC conference. So that's going to be fun to watch this unfold as the season wears on. But let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. And I love Arizona. I've got a special spot in my heart for the Cardinals. But at 7-5, with a deflating loss on the road versus the Eagles last week, this team isn't going to make it to the postseason. Here's why. A, you needed to win that game last week against Philadelphia. Because again, at 7-5, you needed to get to 8-4. You needed to be able to own the tiebreaker over the Eagles, just in case they don't win that division in the NFC East. You need to be able to say to the Eagles, hey, I beat you already. So even if we finish tied, I own the tiebreaker. You're not getting in over me. You can't say that now because you lost that football game. So in addition to that, look at this divisional record right here. This speaks volumes as to why you're not going to the postseason. 0-3 within the division, and I've said this on a number of shows, I'm saying it again, the Cardinals are one of 3 football teams to not win a divisional game to this point in the season. Here we are, week 14, and the Cardinals are 0-3 in the division. Titans are 0-4, Redskins are 0-4 in their respective divisions as well. That can't happen. Now look, I said welcome to hell. So I understand the struggle of trying to win within this division. This is the jungle, okay? And if you're not equipped with the tools necessary, if you're not prepared, if you're ill prepared any week in this division, you'll lose. So, hence the 0-3 mark. However, there's still a chance for you to salvage this record in the division because you got 3 games remaining in the division. 3 out of your final 4 are divisional games. Let's look at this remaining slate. Home for St. Louis, at Tennessee, at Seattle in week 16, home for San Francisco week 17. Let's break this down. St. Louis, at home week 14. Gotta have it. You got to have it. You don't have a choice here. You don't have a choice. You have to win this game or you can forget about even thinking about making the postseason. So that's when you got to have at home. They got you first game of the season. You had that game. You let it slip through your fingers. time for a little bit of redemption. You got to win this game at home. I expect you to win this game at home. That'll get you to 8-5. At Tennessee, that's going to be a tough game. Tennessee probably won't have a lot to play for at that point, but they're right smack dab in the middle of an AFC playoff push, and so maybe that game means everything to them. Either way, they're going to want to win that game. They're a tough out at home. You're not a great road team. You could lose that football game. I could see you losing that game. I also could see you going on the road and doing enough to win that game. For the sake of argument, let's just give you that game. I'll give you the Tennessee game. That'll put you at 9-5. At Seattle, no, you're not winning that game. That'll drop you to 9-6. San Francisco at home, I don't see you winning that game either. That'll get you to 9-7. Now, let's just say that you do win the San Francisco game, and that gets you to 10-6. Because this divisional record is so porous, and you're not going to finish at 500 because you're not beating Seattle, San Francisco, even if you get to that point, will own the tiebreaker over you because they'll own a better divisional record. So you're not getting into the postseason. You see where I'm going with this. You're not getting into the postseason over San Francisco. That's number one. You didn't beat Philadelphia, so even if you finish with the same record as them, you're not beating them either. So it's going to be tough for this team to get into the postseason. Arizona has played a really good season, but they're not getting it. St. Louis Rams, to round out this division, 5-7, 1-3 in the division. At least you got one. At least you can say that. At Arizona, week number 14, home for New Orleans, 15, week 16, home for Tampa Bay, at Seattle to round out your season. It's been a good run, and you're a dangerous team, but I don't see you going to Arizona and winning. I don't see you beating New Orleans at home. I think you can win at home against Tampa Bay. So I'll give you that one. That'll get you to 6-8 at that point. And I see you dropping the season finale at Seattle. So that loss would put you at 6-10 for the season because of a stretch of football at the end of the season that sees you go 1-3. You'll be at 6-10. I could honestly see you winning more than one game. I could see you going to Arizona and winning that game. It's possible, highly unlikely, but it could happen. You've already beaten this team once before. You don't have a problem going into Arizona, getting pressure on Carson Palmer and forcing him into some mistakes. But more realistically, because the Cardinals need that game. You want that game. They need that game to be alive. And so I think they're going to win that game. You're not going to beat New Orleans, even though that's a home game. Even though the Saints seem to not travel well, it's inside. It's a controlled environment, much like the Superdome is for them. I expect them to be able to come into St. Louis, do enough offensively to beat you. And Tampa Bay, that's a game that you should win. That's a game that you will win. At Seattle, again, if I go off of the same premise that I went with Seattle, and let's just go off of that assumption, okay? Let's go under the assumption that they don't need that Week 17 matchup, and they rest a lot of their starters, including Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch and a couple of others. That's a very winnable game. Now, their backups are extremely talented. They might have some of the best depth in the National Football League. However, I'm not going to disrespect you that way. If they rest their starters, I'm giving you that game. And so I could easily see you winning 3 out of your final 4. I could easily see you losing 3 out of your final 4. It's that fine of a line with this football team. But because I don't believe in Kellen Clemens, because I feel like Arizona needs it more than you do, because I think the Saints can come into your building and win, because I think that Seattle, despite having this division and this conference wrapped up, will probably still play their players, I'm assuming that you're going to lose 3 out of 4, not win 3 out of 4. And so I think you'll finish this season at 6-10. Again, nothing to hang your head about. The big question for you in this offseason will be, what do you do at the quarterback position? Do you need to draft another quarterback? Sam Bradford, I think this season proved to me that he can play at an extremely high level when protected, and he has weapons around him, and he has an adequate running game. Now can he stay healthy for a full 16-game slate? Hasn't been able to show you that in the last 2 seasons. And the beating that he has taken as a football player since coming into the National Football League, you'd be hard-pressed to find another quarterback outside of Jay Cutler that has taken probably as many sacks as Sam Bradford has taken over the short life of his career. He's a battered and bruised quarterback right now. Be interesting to see what the Rams decide to do there. I think you go elsewhere. You don't look for a quarterback right now. I think you're still comfortable with him. But 6-10 for all of the injuries, all of the things you've had to endure this year, not a bad mark. But again, you're a team on the rise. If you can just continue to play some solid football, I can see the St. Louis Rams really moving up the ladder in this division. But that's this NFC West division in a nutshell. Just to recap this division quickly, 11-1 Seahawks going to win this division, going to be the first seed in the NFC. San Francisco 49ers currently at 8-4, second in this division. They're going to make the postseason. They're a good enough team. They've played well enough. They're going to do enough down the stretch in these final 4 games to get a ticket to the dance. They're going to be second in this division, and they're going to make it. Now, are they going to be the 5 seed or the 6 seed? That remains to be seen, but they're going to get into the postseason as one of the 2 wild cards. The Arizona Cardinals, they made a valiant push and a valiant effort to try to get into the postseason this year, but I think they're one more year away from getting to where they want to be as a football team. Again, this 0-3 record inside the division is going to ultimately cost them when it all boils down to the end. That record right there is going to stop them from having enough wins within the conference, within this division, and some of the head-to-head matchups are going to stop them from being able to get into the postseason. But a great job by Bruce Arians in his first year of changing the culture in Arizona. A team that was hopeless a season ago will have a winning record this year and really do some damage in the NFC conference. But they're going to finish third in this division. The St. Louis Rams are going to finish last. But again, nothing to hang their heads about. You have a serious injury to your quarterback, and you get off to a slow start this season offensively, and that's your end result. But I tell you what, this is a dangerous St. Louis Rams team that nobody wants to face down the stretch, and they're getting better each and every year. And if Sam Bradford can just stay healthy, this could be a dangerous team for years to come. So as you see it here, that's the way this division is going to stay. Seattle 1, San Francisco 2, Arizona 3, St. Louis 4. That's it, folks. Welcome to hell. In a nutshell, that's it right there. And so that's going to do it for the NFC West. That's all of the divisions. I've broken them all down. And so next thing you should be looking out for are the divisional playoff breakdowns. And so I'll break down the conferences, breakdowns. NFC, AFC playoff picture, talk about how they look, how things are going to boil down. And I'll do that after the Sunday game so that we have another game and some more things have been kind of sorted out and the picture is becoming that much more clear. So look for that next week. But in the meantime, enjoy the football this weekend. Have a good one. I'll have a Friday show up to give you my picks, talk about what I was able to do in the Pick'em Weekly, give you my pick for the week this week, and I'll see you Friday. So have a good one. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Labyrinth. See you next time. Have a good one. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the Lab